Here we go. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Okay, so we're in Parshas Tavo. We're learning the Maharal, Be'ezus Hashem Yisparach, with a lot of Siyata D'Shmaya. Hopefully, it'll not just be Nogeya to this week's Parsha, but also to our Avodah in Elul, our march towards Rosh Hashanah, and the Avodah of Tshuva that we're all in the midst of. Tonight's learning should be a schus for a Refuah Shlema from Yisrael Zev Ben Yerochel HaKohen, Refuah Shlema, and for Shin Dvar Bas Chaychana, and for Yaakov Mordechai Ben Yiteratza, and we should continue to daven and learn for the Chatufim, the Chayalim, the Cholim in Eretz Yisrael, and all of our enemies wherever they are in the world, Qatar, Iran. Who? Oh, thank you very much. And also V'schus Refuah Shlema for Chamutal Bas Naomi. Thank you very much. And again, everyone in Eretz Yisrael should be safe, Chayalim should be successful, the Chatufim should be returned. We should hear B'suras Toivis. Let's rock and roll. Parshas Tavo. There's a lot going on. We have the Tochacha, and if you take a look in Perek Chav Zayin, Pasuk Yud Beis. So this is in Chamishi. V'tzav Moshe Sa'am Bayom Ahu Leimor. Eile Yamdu Levorech Sa'am Al Har Grizim Be'ovrechem Es Yardin Shimon V'Levi V'Yehuda V'Yisachar V'Yosef V'Vinyamin V'Eile Yamdu Al HaKilala B'Har Eval. Konig learning this week? Gival. Oh, Bar Mitzvah, right? Oh, this week sure should also be as a special schus for the birthday boy, Aaron Koenig Shlita. Okay, here we go. Now millions of people listen to this year. We'll know it's your birthday. So then, who's on Har Grizim? So this is, who's on Har Eval for the Klala? Reuven, Gad, Va'asher, Zvulun, Dan, Naftali, Va'anu Halavim, Va'anu Al Kol Ish Yisrael Korah. Here we go. So we have one hand Har Grizim, on the other hand Har Eval. We have on one hand the Bracha, on one hand the Klala. Fine, Zakt Rashi. Levarech Esam, Dibur Maschil, Levarech Esam, K'di'isa b'Mesech HaSoita, Shisha Shvatim Alu L'Rosh Har Grizim, Shisha L'Rosh Har Eval. V'HaKohanim, V'Halaviyim, V'Ha'aron Lamata Be'emsa, so it's kind of like in the valley. Hafu Leviyim Pneim Klape Har Grizim, Upaschu B'Vracha, and they turn and they open, they start with the Bracha, Baruch HaIsh Asher Lo Yasa Pesel U'Maseicha. Blessed is the one who doesn't make some sort of molten image. Ve'elu ve'elu onim amen. Chazru v'hafku pneim lahar eva upasku b'klala ve'omrim orur ha'ish asher yasa pesel. Okay, so cursed is the one who creates a pesel masecha. Tov as Hashem masa yidei achar. Fine. And everybody says amen. V'chein kulam ad orur asher lo yakim. Gival. So Rashi tells us the order. Now the Maharal comes along in the Gur Aryeh and has a relatively short line. He says like this. He highlights, he notes, when Rashi says upaschu bivracha, so he opens, obviously with bracha, that's what Rashi means, as the Pasuk is telling us. The Maharal says bracha comes before klala. As the Pasuk tells us earlier in Sefer Dvarim, v'nasates habracha al har grizim es haklala al har eval. So again, we have that order. Imkein al karchach pasu bivracha. So necessarily so, the Torah is going to start with bracha here. But asks the Maharal, V'im tomar lama kasav klala bikra. Why do we even need to have the klala? Why is the klala important to list? Meaning, if you assume there's bracha, so then you can assume that there's a flip side. Why do we have to mention it? Just say, if there's bracha, givalt. And if not, don, right? Like we don't need to almost mention it. V'im tomar lama kasav klala bikra. Adrav, heavy limichtav habracha bikra. Just write the bracha. And Rav Harman in the footnote explains that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a meitiv. And we know Meruba Midatova Mimidas Peranios, as the Gemara in Soda tells us. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu's ultimate ratzon is to give schar to the Jewish people, not to chas v'sholem, to chalila give punishment. He doesn't want to dole out onshim. And if that's really the ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so then asks the Maharal, what's going on? Why do we need to mention the klala? So comes along the Maharal and he says like this, V'yir lomar, where it's bolded, V'yir lomar shaha'ikr hu ha'klala. The klala is actually the ikr, which sounds wild. This doesn't sound like, Shabbos table divrei Torah. The klala is the ikr. You read through the klala in Kisavo, it's horrifying. Why is it so important? Because we need to be mekabel the Torah through these or with these. Says the Maharal that we need to have the klala in the psukim. We need to make sure that there's this almost we'll call it like this Kabbalah's old, this almost scary, like you have to do this or else. because that's what's going to ensure that we continue to keep the mitzvos and do the Ratzon Hashem. So the Maharal notes, not the Maharal, excuse me, Harman in the footnotes, notes Rav Hutner in the Pachad Yitzchak. The Pachad Yitzchak, Rav Zev Cohen from Yeshurin, once pointed out that Rav Hutner was the one who kind of opened up the world of the Maharal in America to people. He would teach Maharal, he would give shir on the Maharal, he would explain Maharal, and his Maimorim in Pachad Yitzchak, he quotes the Maharal a lot. So it's very helpful if you have the Rav Hartman edition of the Maharal. He's often citing Pachad Yitzchaks that explain or elaborate different shtiklach in the Maharal. So Rav Hutner writes in Pesach Maimer Samach Vav, Os Dalet says the following: Yecholim anu litzayer latzminu adam who is haser mira lekol anafav. He has no connection. He's completely removed himself and distanced himself from evil in all of its different ways and permutations. Va'ositov lechol seifav. And he does so much good in all the different ways he can do good. In every which way he can get involved in good, this guy is constantly involved in the good. V'kol avoda hazo nasasi mitoch matzav hanefesh shel adam misnadiv la'avoda. His entire avoda, his entire affect, the way he feels about, the way he relates to the avoda, is done min matzav hanefesh shel adam misnadiv la'avoda. What's misnadiv? What's nedivos? Volunteer. The nedivos alev often we translate as a generosity. I like the volunteer though. There's a sense of it's voluntary. There's a geschmack to it. I feel good when I do it. Margishu, he feels adam ze yafi yafa es yakrusa shel avodazo. I feel how good this is. I feel how geschmack this is. I feel how important this is, and therefore I do it. Avol inu margis es shibuda la avodazo. Says Rav Hutner, a person doesn't feel the shibud. I don't like the word enslave, but maybe the commitment, the necessary dedication. It's involuntary, like Tzvika is saying. You have to do it. And he gives a gewalt mashal. Mashal adam haporei chovo mitoch tenuas hanefesh shanosin matana. A person who borrows $100,000, maybe it's $1 million, whatever it is, starting a business, he needs a ton of money. So Josh, because he is an amazing, I give a shout out to plug the photography and video, right? So this guy's making millions and millions, and I need some money. So I say, hey Josh, can I get a cool mill to start my side hustle? Fine. So he gives me the money. Give out. What happens? I have to pay him back. Says Rav Hutner, when you pay back the loan, how do you feel? So a person can feel, I'm giving you a gift right now. I'm giving you a gift of $1 million. Rav Hutner said that's crazy. If you're paying back a chov, something you have to do, something you're obligated to do, but you say to yourself, look at me, I'm the man. I feel good about it. That's something you have to do. So it's almost like you're undermining the very action in what you're doing. You have to pay back because the person lends you money. I'm required to do such a thing. I have a commitment to do such a thing. Vizohi muhuso shel prikas ol. This is the very essence and the very nature of prikas ol. Shekol atzma ino ela choser avoda. Prikas ol means to throw off the yoke of, if it's prikas ol malchus shemaim, if it's prikas ol mitzvos in this case, where there's no necessity, there's no dedication, there's no commitment, the involuntary nature of mitzvos is gone. I'm doing it because I feel geschmack, I feel good about it. Shekol atzma ino ela choser avoda. And when you lose out on that avoda, when you lose out on the avoda shabo, so then what are you really doing? The Maharal writes in other places. I thought about this, a little bit ago. I didn't put it in the Mar Makomo sheet, but the Maharal writes in Parshas Bo. God willing, we'll come across this idea a couple times this year. So the Maharal talks about how the Karban Pesach, Maha Avoda Hazos Lechem. The Karban Pesach is Spitz Avoda. It's referred to as the Avoda, and he talks about that there's a Stromer and Asay Tov component of the Karban Pesach, Dam Pesach and Dam Mila, and how they work together. But he basically says that the Karban Pesach was us saying we're signing up to play for your team, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why it's called the Avoda. More so than any other mitzvah in the entire Torah, the Karban Pesach represents us saying we are on your team and we are committing to you. We're going to take the Avodah Zarah, we're going to take the God of the nation that we're in right now, we're going to take the Mitzrayim's sheep and we're going to shecht it. And not only are we going to shecht it, we're not just going to cook it, we're going to barbecue it, we're going to roast it in the backyard, because everybody in the block knows when you're barbecuing. So when all the Yidden and all the Mitzrayim are barbecuing, everybody knows what they're cooking. And we're saying, we don't care what you guys have to say, because we're signing up for our Kadosh Baruch Hu's team. And we're committed to Him. Whatever He tells us to do, that's what we're going to do. And nothing's going to stand in my way. Says Rav Hutner, when we go about mitzvos, recognizing that it's an avoda, milashon shibur, that you're committed to it. I have to do this thing. So then that represents a whole other level of kabbalah mitzvos. To do mitzvos and they make us feel good. When I get a geshmak, so then again, he's not saying we shouldn't get a geshmak from asiyas a mitzvah and avodas Hashem. There should be a geshmak. But the geshmak, if the geshmak is the only reason you're in it, there's something incredibly lacking. Something's totally missing. We're missing the boat here. We do it because it's avodas Hashem and it's the ratzon Hashem. Like sometimes in a Q&A in school, and people are like, oh, Rabbi, why do we do this mitzvah? Because it says so in the Torah. Yes, we can go to the Sefer Achinach, we go through the Tamei Mitzvos, and I can give you all these awesome Torahs about this particular mitzvah, but you know what? Hashem told us to do it. Hashem told us to do it. That's why we do mitzvos. There's an avodah, there's a shibud, there's this commitment and dedication that we follow the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So if we have a prikas ol, we're missing out on this avodah.
But isn't the whole misnadiv avodah? It's a paradox. You can't volunteer to be a slave or
Okay, so say it out, flesh it out.
Which one is he saying is the better?
So again, I'm not saying better or worse per se, because we should have a geshmak when we do mitzvos. But I think what the Maharal is getting at is that if we only wrote bracha, again tying it back into the pasuk, that's what the Gemara is trying to do, trying to understand Rashi's understanding the pasuk. If the Torah only wrote bracha, so then there would only be the sense of nedivos vis-a-vis the mitzvos. From the fact that the Torah said we have to write klala, it's to show us that what? There is a necessity to kiyum mitzvos. Like you need to do it, and we're lacking without it.
Is it more important?
Which part? I don't know. I mean, it sounds like
According to this view,
Rav Hutner is saying that that's like the baseline. More important, yeah. Is it like the best way
It's
of?
more important, but
Right.
if you only do it.
Yeah, I'm
the
asking
other
that if
reason
you had to have
disqualifies
one,
you.
right? Exactly. You have to have one without the other, or would say take the klala.
Yeah, but I'm saying I feel like bracha is more important because in the Torah it starts with bracha and then it goes on.
Okay, and that's how the Maharal, set it up. Rav Hutner said it. Kodesh Baruch Hu wants to be the matan sachar. Hashem wants to do good for the Jewish people for sure. So hold on to that point, because I think we're gonna hopefully round it out a little bit. Be'ezus Hashem, we'll see. He quotes Rav Hutner. Just go to the end of that line. Vizal, the Zel Shona, right? Ha'avodah shebelev de kabbalas al mitzvos inenu stam hachlata shel kiyum mitzvos. The avodah shebelev, the way we relate to and connect to and feel for kabbalas al mitzvos, is not just a decision that I'm going to do mitzvos. Ki achlatas kiyum mitzvah, efshar lo lios hachlata shel nidvas alev. It could be the reason you're deciding to be mekayim the mitzvah is because it's geshmak, it makes you feel good. Ba'od shekabbalas al mitzvos ikar in yono hi hishtabdus hanefesh l'kiyum mitzvos. So that answers your question, Koenig. Rav Hutner is saying black on white that the kabbalas al mitzvos, the ikar in yono hu hishtabdus hanefesh. Like I need to do this; it's necessary. Hishtabdus zo ino miskayemes rak al yidei hahargasha b'yakros kiyum mitzvah. This shibud can only come about through the feeling of importance, of endearment, of how precious kiyum mitzvos is. Ella she doreshes derech hakiyum. But there's like the practical, like I need to figure out how am I going to be mekayim this mitzvah. And hana gedolahi la'adam lahanik matanos. It's geshmak to give presents. You feel good when you can do good. Aval ha'eder hana zo inenu ason. But if you don't have that geshmak, you're not losing out on anything. Like it's nice to feel good, but the absence of that pleasure isn't going to make or break your life.
It's like repaying the debt. Like if you convince yourself some way to make it more palatable, that's great.
Right.
You should. But ultimately you have to.
Maman of shach, you gotta pay it.
You gotta.
Exactly. Ulam kisha'adam einenu yachol lotzei sidei chovas eved chovo leish acher, like exactly like you're saying, to pay back the chov that you have. Hari amdu choshech ba'ado. So then he's going to be in a little bit of a darkness. V'zohi hamahalech shel kabbalas al mitzvos. So this is says Rav Hutner, based on the Maharal, this has to be our mahalach when it comes to kabbalas al mitzvos. Shekolal hu besocho gamas atzad hahin v'gamas atzad halav. Our relationship towards mitzvos has to be both that it's geshmak and I want to do it and it's the greatest thing in the world, but it also has to come with the sense of like I absolutely have to do this thing. Without this, my life will be lacking. Because a person is mekabel on himself on mitzvos, Tzarchu lefarish la'atzmo es inyan ha'ason shel bitulan. This is really important. We're not just talking about checklist Yiddishkeit here. We're not saying it doesn't matter about the shmak and make sure you just like check off okay, I put tefillin on today. I did tzedakah, I learned Torah, I did this, I did that. We're not talking about a very perfunctory manner of being Mekayim Mitzvos. But we're saying that this is critical. Tzarchu lefarish la'atzmo es inyan ha'ason shel bitulan. We're saying if you don't do that mitzvah, to say, it's not a big deal. Okay, I missed out on tefillin today. I didn't daven today. I missed my chavrusa today. Okay, whatever. I'll get it tomorrow. So we have to realize that like, how can I live without that? To recognize the importance and the necessity of kiyum mitzvos. So Rav Hutner is explaining that's what Kabbalah mitzvos is. It's not just an acceptance that I'm going to do mitzvos. It's not just a commitment, that I'm going to try to do more and more mitzvos. It's like a paradigm shift. It's a recognition that I need this in my life. And without it, I'm chaser. It's not just that there's the positive feeling of geschmack, but without this recognition, without understanding how important kiyum mitzvos is, there's like a gaping hole in my relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. There's a gaping hole in my avodas Hashem. I was talking to someone about this earlier today. We were fleshing out the point, and he gave the mashal. Again, we've all read stories from the Holocaust, but imagine, a family is hiding. There's a soldier, there's an SS officer, whatever it is, and the mother is hiding with her child. And the mother is telling the kid to be quiet. But you don't want to say, you have to be quiet because our life's in danger, because that's going to freak the kid out. Rather, what do? You start to play a game with the kid. Well, let's have a quiet contest. And then the kid's quiet. So, the kid's being quiet because he's playing a game. There's like a geschmack shabo. And again, this is just a mashal. Mashal's not perfect, otherwise it wouldn't be a mashal. But if a kid goes up his whole life thinking every time he's in like a dangerous situation that I need to play a fun game right now, so there's going to be something very wrong with that. He has to recognize that there's a reason where we have to be quiet. Okay, so maybe at a certain age, the way you get to the kid is by playing the game with him. But if he's left with that understanding, he's chaser shtickle. So again, it's just a mashal. I think it's a powerful mashal. It resonates. We have imagery. It's scary. But I think it relates to kiyum mitzvos. As kids, very often, we're not necessarily told why we do certain things. You have to do it. Just do it. And then at a certain age, we want to know why we do certain things, or we relate to mitzvos that are geschmack to us. We start to connect to the things and seek out certain mitzvos that we relate to, that we feel good about. That it's just like, it's Moshe Chesalev. But then, as we get a little bit older, and maybe a little bit more mature, we kind of stick to those, or that category of mitzvos, and we don't relate to maybe other mitzvos. And even within the mitzvos that we're involved in, we keep it on almost like the upbeat style. Like, I'm going to go based on the nedivos. What's geschmack? What's voluntary? What's awesome? What makes me feel good? Whereas we have to relate to mitzvos as no. I need this in my life. I need this in my life. And without that, what am I going to do? How can I go about the rest of my day without those mitzvos? So we have to have this paradigm shift. And I think this idea is very much connected to tshuva. If you take a look in the next source, the Gemara in Yuma, a well-known Gemara, Hechidami about tshuva. What's the case? What is about tshuva? Amar Yehuda Kigon. Shabas liyado dvar avera pam rishona v'shniya v'nitzel hemena. Mocher Rabbi Yehuda ba'oso isha ba'oso perek ba'oso makom. You have to be in the same exact situation, same exact circumstances, everything else. Then you can be a Baal Tshuva. But I think the idea here is it's not just about not doing. When it comes to being a Baal Tshuva, we're not talking about like a Maisa Mitzvah Shabbat. We're talking about being a Baal Tshuva as a definition. How do you look at yourself? So it's not about the X's and O's of mitzvahs versus averos. It's who am I right now? What am I doing? How do I relate to mitzvahs? How do I relate to averos? It's like Rabbi Yaakov said at the Itan Katz bringing. The Rambam talks about, what is tshuva? What is vidoy? So anashema chatasi yavisi b'shati davnecha v'asisi kach v'kach. And then the Rambam has a lashon at the very beginning of Hilchos Tshuva, where he says ve'eni chozer l'davar zeh. I think is the lashon. So okay, you go through that and anashem chatasi yavisi b'shati davnecha. That we got. That makes sense. We admit to what we did. That's great. But then you're going to say any choser that like doesn't sound like, can we honestly say I'm never ever going to come back to this thing? So the diak was that it's not that I'm never going to sin again, but I'm never going to come back to that. I'm a different person now. I've recognized what averos mean. I understand what mitzvos are. I recognize how it impacts my relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. How every mitzvah brings me closer to you. How every avera moves me further away from you and removes the Kadosh Baruch Hu from my life. So any choser l'davar zeh doesn't mean I'm not going to do the avera anymore. It means I'm committing to be better, but I'm a different person now. Right? The Rambam writes in Hilchos Tshuva also in Perek Gimel. Rav Hutner in a Sefer on Rosh Hashanah has a shtickle on this that I don't know if it's a well-known shtickle. I've heard it a couple times. It's fantastic. The Rambam says like this: and just like they do some sort of cheshbon, they audit when we die. They audit us every single year. How are our mitzvos? How are our averos? What's the scale looking like? How are we doing? Mishinim tzaddik. So someone who's a tzaddik, nechtam l'chaim. Givalt. Mishinim rasha, rachman l'slam, nechtam l'misa. But then the Rambam says like this: V'ha beinoni, tolen oso ad yom kippur. What's a beinoni? In between. So if it's a scale, a lot of people read this Rambam, says Rav Hutner, in a kamuti way, meaning in terms of kamus. Are you a tzaddik is 51.49, a rasha is 49.51, and a beinoni is 50.50. So the Rambam says the beinoni is hanging in the balance between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Says the Rambam, im asa tshuva nechtam l'chaim, v'im lav nechtam l'misa. Person does tshuva, then he's good. He'll be considered like the one of the tzaddikim, will be nechtam l'chaim. If he doesn't have avera, rachman l'tzlan, if he doesn't do tshuva, then it'll be nechtam l'misa, rachman l'tzlan. So ask Rav Itzla Petterberg and everybody else is Bubby on this Rambam. What's the question? The Rambam says if you're 50-50, if you do tshuva, give out. If you don't do tshuva, you're toast. But if you're 50-50, what could you do? Just do a mitzvah. Put tzitzis on. Put it down in the pushka. What do you mean? If you do tshuva, then you're good. So it says Rav Hutner, we're not holding by quantity here. I mean, the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu is looking at us is not a quantitative measure. It's not, you have more mitzvahs. The pile of mitzvahs in Shemayim is higher than the pile of Averos, so you're a tzaddik. Or fakir, so this person's a rasha, so he's going to go to Gehenna. It's not how it works. It's how do we look at life? What's our mabat hachayim? What's our outlook on life? How do we view avodas Hashem? How do we view mitzvahs and how do we view averos? A person has the opportunity to do tshuva, says Rav Hutner. And he takes advantage of that opportunity, saying, I want to be a different person. I want to be better. I want to improve and I want to get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That person is nechtam l'chaim. I want to improve my beinon l'chavero. I want to improve my beinon l'atzmo, have better self-esteem and self-worth. I want to improve my shalom bayis. I want to be a better friend. That person says, I need to change and I want to be better without the X's and O's of mitzvahs and averos. Just saying, I want to be better, I want to be closer to you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that person is nechtam l'chaim.
How do you reconcile without the X's and O's using a kind of empty wishes? Like you might say that you want it and you're fully in it, but the way you keep track of that ultimately. Meaning,
Lamaisa, there's a poal. There are the pu'ulos. Meaning,
that's the scorecard.
Yeah, you got it's very nice what you want in theory, but Lamaisa, you gotta show me it. It's cute that you're saying it. You know, it's like sometimes I say in Shir, when the kid says, I'm sorry, don't be sorry. Like, don't say you're sorry, be sorry. Show me you're sorry. Or Rabbi, I won't talk to Davening anymore. Don't tell me you're not going to say, just don't talk during Davening, you know?
Yeah.
So that's Ariel's question. You hear? What do you say? What do you say? It's good kasha? Let's run it back. Let's say it out. What's the kasha? You're committing. Hashem, I want to be better. And Lafidus Rav Hutner, it's all about the what? It's all about this commitment, seemingly. But if it's all about the commitment, so then it's very nice that you're clapping al chayr and saying Hashem, I want to be better, Hashem Nubaganu, whatever. Elamai, you still have to do. You have to produce. Show me some results, baby. So what's going on? How do we reconcile that? What would you say? Tzvika probably saw I don't know what he saw this week. The Chaban, the Svishalom, Svastem, who knows?
I mean,
You heard from Rosh Hashanah of
Shuvah
Tarragon.
start-
Yeah, what do we got?
Shuvah can still start with your mindset.
Right,
They'll like cause you to do the prayers.
right. Meaning, I think the idea is there needs to be this commitment. We need to say, Hashem, I want to be better. Hashem, I need to be better. Without actually following up, but you're right, it's empty, and it's just...
But it's sincere, like.
But it's sincere, and so again, we're not saying though that I have to be the Chavetz Chaim tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're saying Hashem, I'm, and I think I don't know if we spoke this out at one point, but there's a machlokes it seems like from between the Rambam and Rabbeinu Yonah in the Shari Tshuva of what Tshuva is. According to the Rambam, Tshuva is a high madriga. To really be about Tshuva, if you're the Rambam, you got to be pretty firm. Rabbeinu Yonah, it's like a little bit of a, I don't want to say a lower bar, it's just like a little bit more realistic, because you don't have to be there yet, but you have to be on the way. You have to be baderech. You have to be heading in the right direction. So you're on the train. Are you there yet? No, but you bought the right ticket and you're on the train. Or you're on the road. You're going from Chicago to New York, whatever it is. So okay, you're not driving straight down, 80 the entire something. You stop to get some snacks. You stop to fill the car with gas or to charge. I don't know, whatever. Right? You stretch your legs, whatever it is. Use the restroom. Just because you got off the road doesn't mean you're not headed there. You're still headed there. You don't have to be there yet. But because Hashem doesn't expect us to be finished products ever. Hashem wants us to say, I'm trying my best. But that trying my best comes with this command of saying, Hashem, I want to be the best that I can be. And will we have days or whatever it is, times that we're not feeling it? Yeah, that's probably true. But then we fall back to the shibud, meaning the thing that holds us there is that shibud. Right? They're coming full circle. If a person recognizes that my avodas Hashem, first and foremost, has to have this. It has to have the underpinnings of a shibud and a recognition that I have to be committed to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, whether I'm feeling it or not, or whether it feels good or not. So okay, then we're going to do it. And Afla Pikain, will we still mess up our real? Yes, we probably will at different times. But if a person has the shibud shabo, if a person has the commitment shabo, so it's a lot easier to stay on the path and continue on the way and recalculate, so to speak, and recalibrate and say I can get back to it.
I think like even on like the mashal of the Baal Chov, like Baal Tshuva, like even in a word like it's returning, right? So like you view that you have like taken out this like loan, and it's like you don't have to pay 30-year mortgage back tomorrow. But you got to do a payment plan. You got to start. You got to
beautiful.
You got to do some like
right.
Okay, this is my
show me
plan.
Your monthly. What are you making a month? How much can you put down? Like show me you're taking steps in the right direction. Show me something. Give me something to work with. And that's what it's at. And that's why again, when the Gemara says what's about tshuva, again, it's not about the X's and O's necessarily. Again, there is some sort of cheshbon in Shemayim, but more than that, it's not kamuti, it's echuti. It's be'echos, not be'kamos. It's saying Hashem, I want to be better. I want to get in line with the Ratzon Hashem. And again, that's why, just to bring it back, like we were just doing a second ago, that's why the Maharal says we can't just do bracha, because it can't just be the nadivos. It can't just be when it feels good. We have to have the shiva, this commitment, this dedication to Kadosh Baruch Hu, to say Hashem, I want to do your will. And we have that paradigm shift. The klala helps us enforce that. And when you think about it, the klala isn't the ikr. I think there's an important nekuda to mention. I don't know if it was clear. The klala shabo isn't the ikr. When you look at mitzvos, you look at averos. So we have 248 positive commandments. We have 365 negative commandments. That means we have 248 potential ways to connect to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Okay? And we have 365 ways that can pull us away from a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Or you can look at it as I have 248 ways to potentially be absent-minded and forget to connect to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Or you could have 365 ways that if I stay away and refrain from, I'm coming closer to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Like what's the way we relate to mitzvos? So it's not about the klala, it's not about the potential curse or the punishments that can come about from it. But what's it trying to get us to think about? How is it trying to get us to think? What's it want to make us feel when it comes to mitzvos? We have to realize that there's a shibud, there's a connection, there's a dedication. When we have that paradigm shift, we say, Hashem, I want to connect to you, and I want to follow your ratzon. So that's putting us on the best path to be successful, not just for Elul, but I think as we continue on in our avodas Hashem in general. Okay, so we'll hold it here. Yeah, shikoach everyone.